Game number 4, we got Burning Core. Who will leave the pack? No more. We'll find out very shortly. But this last game, AXZ versus Burning Core, we're coming in hot. But this one, both teams have picked up a few wins here and there across this split. AXZ beating V3, Rascal Jesters, CGA, and V3. Burning Core picking up wins against Rascal Jesters, V3, AXZ, and V3. Now, we did know that CGA beat Burning Core twice. Does potentially put them on even standings, considering that AXZ beat CGA. Maybe, maybe not. But we're going to kick it off early with the predictions. Beautiful Crow, you're going to get the question first. Who is winning this match?
Yeah. Ooh. If I had to predict it, and I'm going to be real, I'm not the best with predictions. I think I have like a 43% win rate when it comes to predictions. So I'm going to predict the opposite of what I would normally go. And I'm going to say AXZ might squeak this one out.
Okay, interesting take. Recollect, what about you? Do you feel similar? Do you think AXZ is going to be able to take this one? Or do you feel like actually it is a bit more Burning Core favoured?
So it's a difficult one, right? Because our most recent game, which we got to witness from AXZ, was the matchup against V3. I think the Swamp had a fantastic matchup on the Nocturne. Looked very, very good in that one. I think that stylistically they match up pretty well across the board. The only thing I'm worried about is whether or not that top lane matchup will go well enough for them. For that reason, I'm actually going to say that I think that Ray Farkey is able to carry this one out. I think Burning Core wins this one.
Okay, well, split decision. I will say, AXZ right now are on a 2-winning streak. However, the last time they were on a 2-winning streak, this was followed by a 7-loss streak. Maybe this could continue today. Burning Core, however, are on a 3-loss streak, though, so not having the greatest of time. So maybe form does play a bit of a role here in this matchup. But getting into the nitty-gritty of these picks, obviously, AXZ have been known for being a bit temperamental, a little bit good days, a little bit bad days. Beautiful Crow, what would you say in terms of picks and bans would make AXZ have a much better day?
In terms of picks and bans, well, so the wins for AXZ, I mean, they kind of just played towards meta. The past 2 games, it was, defaulting to the LJL Jinx Aphelios for Songshu, which he's a good AD carry. The man does what he needs to do. I would love to see. Make sure get that Zeri priority if they can, just because everyone seems to be performing very well on that champion. But if not, definitely defaulting to Songshu on the Jinx would be totally fine. Getting Swamp something to make him proactive early would be ideal. I did like the look of that Nocturne pick, and even though, it's V3, so, free win or whatever, but I did like his proactiveness on that champion and the things he's able to get away with. So Nocturne or Wukong, get something like that for Swamp to be able to go crazy early, and then just give Megumin something to scale with, and I think they'll be in a pretty good seat to take the victory.
Yeah, I definitely think Sentry Megumin, as you said, pretty important pick. Swamp there, getting him something that he can enable on. Also good, and obviously Yellow Yoshi, we're known for playing tanks. Azuka, obviously, also likes a bit of engage. We'll see if that one does get locked in. But for you, Recollect, I'm going to ask you a very similar question, but for Burning Core, what are you looking for them to pick up here? Are we still recommending the Flawless being kind of an AP carry from Spring, or do we kind of keep it in the bot lane with Yuhi? What's kind of your take on this one?
So I think there's a couple of sort of conditions to win out in this one. The first is get Flawless Trundle. I think Flawless has looked really good when Trundle has been picked up. It's been their most played by far, and in fact has a good matchup into most of the pool that AXZ are wanting to play in the jungle position. So it makes sense to get it. I think the second thing is DICE doesn't just turbo grief the game, which is kind of what happened in their last series, where a lot of things ended up going a little bit sour in the later stages due to some mispositioning errors. And the third is play through Ray Farkey. The guy is a monster. The guy's a beast. If he's a top 3 sort of top laner in the league pretty easily. And I imagine that this is a pretty good matchup into Yellow Yoshi, who realistically hasn't performed amazingly. If you play through this top side, I think Ray Farkey carries the game, and I think that's Burning Core's steps to success.
Okay, indeed. Well, that sounds pretty good. One question I want to go from both of you is Sivir, pick or not pick? Recollect, you go first.
Compositionally dependent. The champion is strong, but she's very much reliant on similar scenarios to Hurricane Jinx, where they have to be grouped up, you have to be getting multiple bounces, you have to be getting good value from there. She also isn't exactly going to have the greatest lanes into a lot of the AD carry champs that can be picked right now, especially things that just hard outrange her, where she just gets poked to death. So there are some issues there, but she's okay, she's viable, depends on matchup.
Yeah, and for you a similar question, Sivir or no Sivir?
Yeah, honestly, I don't think the Sivir pick's going to come through. Not denying the ability of either of these marksman players, but I just don't feel like Songshu is going to try to pick that up now, regardless of all the changes that have been made. You know, we have seen her in some of the other regions being rather successful. I just don't think that Songshu nor Yuhi are going to want to try and pull that out now. I think they're going to stick to, you know, the quartets, that is Jinx, Aphelios, and Zeri and Callista. So I'm not too positive on a Sivir sighting today.
Well, who knows? Maybe someday soon. I definitely feel like both these teams have options. As you said, we can maybe see some different picks coming out. Interesting that Recollect likes the Trundle. Obviously, if we had Melvin on a little bit earlier, big Trundle disliker. So we'll see if that one does come out. I do think, obviously, Flawless, though, has looked pretty good on the champion. And then in terms of the rest of the map, I feel like we don't really talk about top lane as much when it comes to Yellow Yoshi, but obviously we have to talk about it when it comes to Ray Farkey. Do you feel like it's this going to be a big key for success, or do you feel like we've really moved away from top lane? By the way, I will say you've got to give some pretty quick answers.
Honestly, I didn't want to talk about the top lane matchup because this is the biggest part of the matchup that scares me. Yellow Yoshi versus Ray Farkey. Burning Core want Ray Farkey to go Super Saiyan. You know, they want him to step up and be that top lane destroyer. So I would say top would be a key in this matchup specifically. Just, you know, Burning Core usually wanting Ray Farkey to go crazy.
Okay, well, I won't get too much into this one. We are going to be going into draft for the final game of the day. Let's get into it. Burning Core versus AXZ. Beautiful Crow, Recollect for the last time today. Take it.
Thank you very much, J-Real. Take it away. We will indeed, as we're getting into it. And right off the bat, these bans coming in quicker than instant grits, I say. Yeah, Zeri, Callista off the board, so, and the Lucian as well. So maybe defaulting into that Jinx Aphelios trade, or we might get lucky and get the Sivir pick.
Potentially possible with Renata open. I imagine that's just going to be our first big priority. It is very strong, it is consistent, and it also pairs fairly well with a lot of the AD carries, considering the pools available for these guys, but potentially could look at some other spice. I think the fact that there's so many junglers open is a fantastic thing, because it means that AXZ, they have their cream of the crop, and it seems like the piece on top is going to be the Aphelios that gets locked in first.
Oh my god, no way.
No, you don't do that. You don't do that to Aphelios. So if you do that, you're trolling and you lose.
There's no way they're going to do that. No, that's. I'm actually.
So the reason why you don't do this, by the way, with the Neela, is just the fact that she struggles against mages, so you can't pick it that early in the set. Number two, you either have to pick Renata and then give counter pick over, which then creates a lot of problems, such as Lulu with Polymorph. Or you give over Renata and then you're never killing Aphelios. So it doesn't actually work in this context, but it would have been cool to see.
Yeah, definitely would have been some spicy action to skip right over and get the Amelia. So picking up the Gnar early. So Yellow Yoshi gonna get back on that Gnar. Past 5 games played is 2-3 on it. So the past 2 wins have been on this Gnar. Has been doing a pretty decent job on it. But Burning Core going to pick up the
I've been talking about this.
Sejuani Kindred. The Kindred is the lock. Okay, take it away, Recollect.
Let's go! Okay. So I've been discussing how good Kindred has been for the last sort of 3 or 4 streams now. This champion is in a fantastic state. It matches up super well into the current jungle meta pool. You can ban out these other sort of rougher matchups now in the second phase, and you're able to now draft considerable sort of pushing lanes, because you've got that Sejuani Gnar matchup where Sejuani is fairly okay. You've got yourself the Aphelios with counter pick crucially in support, so you can pick Karma if it's open, which then gives you push bot lane. You then have at least the potential of getting sort of 3 pushing lanes if you get a good mid matchups too, and then you're able to contest the crabs pretty easily. So it also scales super well, gives you that late game insurance policy. It's a super good pick right now, just relies on giving yourself some winning lanes earlier.
Okay, yes, definitely noted. I can definitely see the scenario where Burning Core will be able to take over a lot of these games with priority lanes. On the flip side for that, AXZ picking up the Jinx pick, taking out the mid pool for Dice, not allowing him to get those hyper bursty champions like the Victor, like the LeBlanc. So hopefully, getting rid of that priority we were talking about. Defaulting into whatever they can on this instance, possibly going that controlled mage route, getting the Azir, getting the Corki. Both of those are still left up, even though Corki did take a little bit of a hit. Lissandra also still on the table. I do like that idea as well. It's just really winding down this counter, making sure they can get what they can in response to Burning Core. And
they likely are willing to take that jungle match.
Okay.
Is it's a relatively okay matchup into the Kindred.
Into the Kindred, right?
Use your ulti to deny a decent amount of what she wants to do to you. You can also dual her pretty easily if you get on top. The issue is, of course, is the Kindred sort of after 6 is not really going to care. She just presses R and she does her job. So it does mean though that they're looking for a very dual heavy mid jungle 2v2, and that means things like Orianna are an option for the Xin delivery system, which is something to keep an eye on. But also any sort of AP mid laners for both of these sides. Oh, Nautilus, naughty boy. Okay. I don't know why we're seeing this. We keep seeing Nautilus into Renato, and Renato is a counter to Nautilus, which I'm not massive on. I think that's a little bit crazy, but we're going to see it anyway. My thought, by the way, is that Lissandra just becomes disgustingly good here for blue side.
Right.
You lock this in, it's good into the Corki, it's good into the Ori, it's good into the Ari. You can also do this, though, which is
Talia was free. Right,
it's not as good. You don't have the best setup in the world to enable her WE Q combo, but it's going to give you that ability to roam around the map, and crucially, you do get the priority for the Kindred.
Right, yeah, I was talking about all the possible mids they could pop through, and Talia should have remembered, oh yeah, everybody's either banning Talia or picking Talia. And it looks like AXZ is going to pick up the Ari, so very catch-heavy on the side of AXZ here. Looking, and you talked about the 2v2, the mid-jungle duo a lot for AXZ, looking for Megamine and Swamp. I wanted Swamp to be on something proactive. I wanted Swamp to get on something to make a ruckus early. Picking the Xin Zhao kind of will be able to facilitate that if him and Megamine can be on the same page. But I am really a fan of Burning Core's composition. Not even gonna lie.
There are some issues, by the way, with this Ari last pick as well. And the main there's two. Okay, so the first issue is doesn't actually get priority in this matchup, to my knowledge. I believe Talia has better shove and is able to roam first, which means that she can use Weaver's Wall and be effective. The second is that the Talia Ari matchup isn't as bad as it used to be because of the change they made to Unraveled Earth, which is the Talia E, where now you have a Xin Zhao Ari and neither of them can dash over because they'll just be insta-stunned. So it actually makes the 2v2 a little bit more playable than it used to be for this blue side. It's still not amazing. It's still not great. It's a 50-50, I would say, if you hit that E set or if you don't. But it now makes ganking the Talia a lot harder than it used to be. So punishing her before she, makes her vacation plans to the sidelines is a lot harder.
Vacation plans to the sidelines, indeed. Let's see how this matchup will be going. It is the last game of our game day here. Burning Core versus AXZ. All the standings implications on the line here. Burning Core come in with a very, very strong composition, bringing out the Kindred for Flawless, hoping to stamp another W in their column. AXZ looking to make this 2-7 streak curse end. We're in game 4. Let's get into it.
Yeah, and on the subject of Kindred, I believe that Flawless is actually known as a Kindred player as well. So I would be interested to see if we can get some stats on Flawless's Kindred historically. I think has played it a decent amount with reasonable success. So I am very much hoping that this is... I won't lie, I'm a bit biased because I am kind of hoping this is the game where people go, yo, Kindred is popping off. Like, we should be picking this champ because I've been saying for a while now that we should be playing this, but a lot of people have let's say, been avoiding the champion. I think that she's in a fantastic spot. So I'm very, very much looking forward to seeing how Flawless can pilot it. Running that Conqueror, so not the PTA that you do often see in solo queue with that little bit more burst. Looking for more of that sustained fighting here in these team fights.
And yeah, definitely a valid rune to take, seeing how these team fights can go. As we do see this early game jockeying for positioning. And off to the early trades is Megumin and Dice talking about the 50-50 matchup here. They're just going to go straight for it. Speaking of 50-50, look at that graph. Very close.
I'm delusional. No, Blitzbot has got me.
You can never run from the Blitzbot stats. You can dread it, run from it, but it is inevitable, as we do see early warding coming out. Great job from Megumin. That's one of my favorite places to put the first ward, honestly, like right there at the entrance to River, coming off the chickens. It's just such a great ward information-wise, because you know how Kindreds do path. They've been out for long enough to where their route hasn't changed as much. I don't think we're going to see the same kind of jungle pathing or gapping that we did see in the early minutes of game number 3. But it's definitely something to note and to watch on.
Yeah, what's most important, though, is the mark spawning, right? Because looking at the way that these lanes are lining up, Ahri and Talia, they're fighting for shove, but it's fairly even for a minute. Top side, you're winning. Bot side, you're losing. It's the coin flip, the classic, will you get the one mark, will you not? As both these junglers doing opposite side clears, so emphasis on different sides of the rift, and also potentially meaning that if it does go bot side, that's going to be an easy pick up here for Swamp immediately, and Ping's going onto these Krugs, so maybe we're going to see an early invade away here from Flawless to try and take those ones.
Yeah, I do see the early pings in there. So Ward in the Tri-Bush by AXZ will not spot out anybody coming in, as Flawless gonna look to get behind. Yeah, they're looking for this early dive on Yellow Yoshi. The wave is there for Burning Core to work with. Let's see how much he can evade. Burns the flash early. There's a hop, skip, jump. Tries to get on to Rayfarki, but no. First blood will go over to Flawless after doing a really great job of juggling that turret aggro.
Yeah, nice stuff there from Flawless. Able to pick that one up. Does get unlucky, though. It is a bot side crab spawn, so Swamp's going to pick that one up, and now might be using that to go straight towards this mid lane. Does have flash available.
Yeah, the charm is down for Megumin, as he did use it in that last attempt of engage. So Swamp just going to be here just to muscle out and say, hey, shove off. Trying to reset this wave in a better position. Great job by Burning Core, though. Flawless making use of that, Kindred ability to get over walls very easily, their ability to just be wherever they want to be. So going all the way around, not even getting spotted by the tribe, but making sure this works here.
Yeah, just has enough damage too. Rayfarki uses the Ignite to guarantee that the aggro doesn't end up messing up, and Yellow Yoshi forced to sort of jump out. Oof. Nice sort of 2v2 there. Very, very simple stuff, and it's just played perfectly. So Burning Core showing some confidence there in their top jungle 2v2.
For sure. And I did notice, Rayfarki's doing the typical Sejuani Bruiser ignite instead of the flash, because Sejuani doesn't really need flash because you can just go over walls. So great.
You can just be tanky and not die.
Exactly.
So who needs a flash when you make the others run away from you instead?
Exactly.
So, 5-head Sejuani, thanks. I never thought I'd call Sejuani 5-head, but there we go. We do in fact live in a very specific time zone.
Whatever mental gymnastics we need to do to justify the pick, as we do see them butting heads in the top lane. Hopefully AXZ and Yellow Yoshi can come back from that small deficit, as Mountain Drake is the first one to spawn in this scenario. To see Ozuka just taking a little stroll through River.
Yeah, those are just the little things. We're seeing little CS advantages start to accrue here from the side of Burning Core. Little advantages gained, and a little bit of gold income from the culls on the flip side. AXZ already got 2 of those, so they'll cash those in a little while, but as of right now, they don't have the greatest of combat stats, so it wouldn't be terrible for Burning Core to maybe see Flawless do these Raptors and go straight towards that Dragon. I actually think that as a sort of a 4v4, it's not the worst. The only issue is that your Ahri is currently level 6, which does mean that Megumin is going to be slightly stronger, so perhaps respecting that. And instead, we're going to see them just bail out on this one, and we could see a rotation towards that top side, utilizing Dice's Weaver's Wall in a couple minutes' time.
Yeah, first Drake of the game will go over to AXZ. You'd have to think, rotating all 3 members in, making a priority to grab. So it's just playing it safe as much as they can, just trying to do all they can. As I do have a little.
I think we're getting hit with a little bit of a chrono shift here for a second, because everything has absolutely stopped for a moment. We will be back with you as soon as we can be, with more information on that. But in the meantime, can we just discuss how beautiful this dragon is looking? It's looking.
It's looking like it's about to be a shish kebab, my guy. Like,
I mean, I bet dragon tastes good though. Like, I mean, I feel like we missed out here. I mean,
if Mountain Drake had a flavor, what would you think it would be? That's the whole thing. As Mega Man jumping straight in, there's a combo coming through 4 dice. Perfect timing on that, on the charm to be able to push away Mega Man so nothing else can happen afterwards. Just this 1v1 in mid lane, we said, is this very skill dependent matchup as Swamp, sensing danger with his Spidey sense, manages to get his red buff and gets away from Ray Farkey and from Flawless, who are just impeding him in his jungle. And they're trying to go for Krugs. I know he saw that ward go down. He's gonna try and pull it. Okay. Oh, come on, my guy. Flashes does get ignited, manages to stay alive, but just barely, as Yellow Yoshi is now coming to try and save off whatever happened. But that was a little mini grief, I would say, on the side of Swamp.
It was over-aggressive tendencies. There we go. I don't actually know if he got the Krugs or not, to be honest with you. If you get the Krugs, you could at least say worth. But with what's happening in the mid lane and the lack of mana here for Megumin, Dice is now able to push up and get some more vision. So the jungle tracking is starting to come to effect. And this is something that you can really start to bully out a jungler if you have so much prio. And it's the idea that, hey, we know where you are the whole time. You can't voice crack, you can't do anything in these early stages now because we know where you are. So then the jungler that scales better is the one that comes out ahead, and right now that's probably the Kindred out there too. So I like what Burning Core are doing. They're playing a slower early game, but they're doing it in such a way that they're still gaining some advantages.
Yeah, it's very controlled. They're definitely corralling an AXZ, making AXZ come to them in the case for a lot of their fights, or a lot of their setups rather.
Look at the rotation, by the way.
Wow.
Burning Core support now roaming up. It's going to be a 4 versus 3 scenario. Nah isn't here yet. So they might be looking for something here for the Dragon. Maybe the pick comes through. They have Glaze.
Oh,
no. Not available yet, though.
Oh, no. Gonna charge in and boom, right on time. They got the ye old Fnatic Death Brush. You love to see it. Burning Core gonna not even allow Megumin any time to react and just get another kill on their board.
And crucially, they can't do much on this bot side either because he is playing that Aphelios, and in this particular matchup, you feel safe. You have red and white, which means you can't fight for the Aphelios. You can lifesteal pretty easily. You've got those shotguns for damage. And Losers rotated down now, so the one wave where you have any chance of doing anything, the HP threshold is too high, so it's not actually possible. So it's going to be a nice pick here in the mid lane. I mean, topside river, I suppose. Megumin just sort of walks into that one. Does have the Spirit's Rush available, but doesn't use it. Thinks they can sidestep, and unfortunately, that just means you are going straight down. Goodbye, Ari.
Yeah, just and it's crazy because Burning Core was there for at least a solid 20 seconds. So that was your patience paying off in spades, I suppose, for Burning Core, as they are accruing a little bit of a lead. 2 kills, 1K on the gold lead. Not the most drastic, but you do see the CS it's really they're only ahead in the mid lane. So Dice winning up on this matchup as AXZ, they gotta pull something soon to get in that area. As Flawless is so genius. Oh my god,
so good.
Oh, that was so good. I think that's like just when you
that's a Kindred player. That's a Kindred player.
That's a Kindred player.
That's how you know. That was so smart. Waiting for the mark to spawn, guaranteed, because of the fact that you only have a certain amount of marks, and it will always spawn as priority on Crab. Oh.
Did Yellow Yoshi miss that ult? Okay. Pushing Ray Farkey into the tower, taking a few damaging shots from the tower, I should say. Oh, wow. Not having the best time up there.
I think I bullied a little bit, but just because Kindred is my life at this point, Kindred has different priorities based on how many marks she has right now.
Right.
And because of the current amount, you have highest priority on Scuttle Crabs. If there's a crab, it will spawn on that first, which is why you guarantee by waiting that your mark will trigger on the crabs that spawn. So big brain stuff there from Flawless, and might be Still bring a little bit here, though.
Jumping over the side, Megami with the fadeaway charm. Not going to result in too much more, though. Did burn the flash out of Flawless, as we do have Infernal Drake here. Flash over the side from Loser, getting a great hook, but once again, not getting everything down that they needed. I mean, I suppose it did the job, as AXIZ is all running for the hills now that Yuhi is rotating up, getting corralled next to Blue Buff here. Looking like Burning Core, even though they got aggressed, they got the worst for wear out of those trades. They're going straight back in. The Kindred ult is down. There's 3 in the pile right now, jumping around as much as they can, healing up, but Swamp does not care. Will take out Flawless, who was flashless, and managing to claim that credit. And you'd have to think Dragon number 2 going the way of AXIZ, unless Burning Core can make a miracle steal happen right here.
It's just really poorly played there from the side of Burning Core. They're going to look for it, but I don't think they're going to find anything out of that one. Yuhi's just off on the side the entire time instead of playing behind and with the team. And once they've blown so many cooldowns initially, it just doesn't quite work out. They can't find anything off the back of the Weaver's Wall. Mechanically, not the greatest performance there from the side of Burning Core, but at the very least, they only end up losing the one for it.
Yeah, definitely not the worst trade they can do, but that was, something that AXIZ definitely needed to kind of get themselves back into this. It's been a very even game here at this 12, 13-minute mark as this replay happens.
Yeah, it looks like relatively okay. Nice flash protection here from Megamine to end up picking up Flawless, a little bit of a chunk. But right here looks really good, but it's still a 4 versus 3, and there's no follow-up because of the Renata ulti. The hostile takeover buying so much space, and right now it's just no cooldowns available here for Burning Core. They don't have anything up, so they're walking up, preparing as if they can do something for Ozuka. Nice flash. Handshake catches Loser, and there's still no damage. Yuhi hasn't fired a single auto up to this point, and unfortunately that makes it entirely a 4v3. It's 4v4 in aesthetics, but 4v3 in actual damage output. Yeah,
it kind of looked like right there. There was this point where AXIZ was just like, oh wait, they have cooldowns, and then they turn the fight, and then Burning Core just collapsed right there, as they're gonna make something happen. The top side has been a lot of focus this game, I would say, from Flawless and Ray Farkey. As we talked about in pre-show, one of their win conditions is getting Ray Farkey to go nuclear, to be that carry that they need him to be. Even though he's on the Sejuani, it's supposed to be the flawless show. It's supposed to be flawless on this Kindred, doing so much work on this champion. But they're gonna pop the Herald in top lane and get first turret gold, going over to Burning Core, get a massive amount in the pockets of Ray Farkey and Flawless. On the flip side, though, AXIZ going to try and take down this bot tier 1 tower, getting as much damage on it as possible, as Yuhi and Loser have just kind of been, I don't want to say giving up the lane to AXIZ, but haven't been playing anywhere near as aggressive.
So here it was a case of they wanted to respect the potential of swamp diving, because they don't have any vision in their bottom side jungle. So they back off for one wave to prevent that. They also had to sack a wave earlier for the Herald. So it's one of those where it looks really bad, but they've had to give up a decent amount of it because of rotation plays on the other side. Because if you go for this, like staying under tower, and then swamp is here and you get dived, you lose 2, you lose the entire tower, and likely the bailout comes through to deny the counter kill. So it's actually a really tough one, and whilst it looks a bit weird, it makes sense. Oh
my god! Perfect pitch, perfect catch. Burning Core. I mean, not the assassination you would think, but hey, Sejuani's can be assassins too, I guess.
I mean, Sejuani is a champ that has a lot of damage, especially when you're running that Ignite too. And Talia, it's a case of 1 W, 1 kill, because you've got that stun afterwards. So the W ends up hitting, and off the back of that, the Glacial Prism is unmissable. Ray Farkey comboing off the back of Dice really well. And I've been a bit disappointed with Dice so far this game, I won't lie. I feel like the rotations haven't been there. The Talia walls have only, we've only seen the one so far. It feels like could have maybe looked for more proactivity. But at least there's something now that's come out of that pick.
Yeah, definitely wanting more out of a Dice, but now does have his Ludens, does have the Sork shoes as well, working towards that Seraphs, as the Herald number 2 being started by Burning Core. AXIZ is here to contest. It is looking like it's going to be a 5v5 situation. Megamine on the backside, though. Swamp jumping in. Charm comes out. Yuhi immediately cleanse. Herald in the middle of all this. Swamp gets the ultimate onto Yuhi. Songshu free firing on the backside. Kraken Slayer is here, baby. Yellow Yoshi will jump back over, but this is Burning Core running for the hills, all low on life, and will be dropping down. Megamine Spirit Rush fully charged, jumping over, trying to 1v3 this. Has no problem. Fancy footwork flash available as well to get himself to safety. And that was AXIZ wanting that fight, and they got what they wanted.
And again, Burning Core, they're just split up for no reason. They end up getting caught out in 2 sets, the carries on the top side, everyone else on the bottom side, and unfortunately that's never a fight that's going to be winning for them. They end up getting themselves kind of just deleted off on the top side of the fight. It's a little bit tough for them, and as you see, they've got 2 members on the top side here. Yuhi ends up managing to walk all the way through, and as soon as Talia misses this combo, you need to bail out. You don't have any of your zone control available now, but they don't respect it, and suddenly the chart actually goes wide, by the way. Cleanses nothing, does Yuhi. But on the bottom side of the fight, Dice isn't able to do anything. They're just playing it really, really slowly, but they can't really fight anyone at all, and it just means that there's no way for Flawless to cover enough distance to save anyone with the Kindred ulti. Unfortunately, Yuhi goes down, essentially unable to get saved, and it's just free picks.
Yeah, free picks indeed, but right back to live as a fight as immediately. Look, Herald, we had a fight for Herald, we had the fight after post-Herald was dropped, but this time, Burning Core came out on top, and they're marching right towards the Hex Tech Drake. Rocket goes in, and so does Yellow Yoshi to get a quick stun onto Loser, but look at Megumin being able to survive all of that. The toss and the Kindred ult is down. Dice now actually able to put down the damage. AXZ tried to turn it back in their favor, but it's not working as Megumin able to Spirit Rush and dash on the side. He's in a bad spot, but who's in a worse spot? It looks like to be Songchu, as he's going to get taken out by Dice, who we're looking to step up and deliver, and Burning Core delivering on that counterpunch.
And I was talking about the Kindred pick, but it's the Talia now that's coming into play. Dice finds a great initial pickup so that Rayfaki can set up as well, and it's a second kill there for Dice at the end of it, but look at the initial play. It looks a little bit awkward when you look at the health values. Flawless already chunked a reasonable amount. The Herald dropping in the mid lane. They're trying to push to at least force off, but nice engage from Rayfaki. Seismic shove, Unraveled Earth off the back of it there for Dice on the Talia, and it's just a pick from here. You've got that 4v5. And it feels like it's something the Burning Core can play, but the Super Mega Death Rocket makes it scary. Nice dash to avoid there from Flawless. Rayfaki buying space, and there is the Lamb's Respite to buy time. It means you can chunk that front line for free, and here comes Dice. Catches at least one. Here is an attempt on the second one. Nice dodge out from Megumin, by the way, to avoid that, but Songchu isn't avoiding anything, ends up getting tagged by one Seismic Shard and gets hit by another one.
Yeah, it gets hit by another one. Burning Core trying to make as much happen as possible, as once again, just, flawless bullying Yellow Yoshi, as it has been the story of this game. But yeah, this is such an even game, Recollect. Like, it's been very back and forth, very seesaw-ish. The pendulum is swinging, but it's seeming to get more into that favor of Burning Core the longer this goes on. You would have to think, right? You'd have to think with the Aphelios gaining more power, almost getting to that 2-item spike, with Flawless on this Kindred, slowly but steadily getting more and more. It's just Burning Core able to answer these fights now as well. AXZ has to come up with something quick, or else it can get real scary real soon.
I would say that they definitely do outscale on the Burning Core side, but they need to play it well.
Oh boy, Ultimate's going down. Ozuka gonna launch as much as he can, but wow, Songchu dropped fast, and just like that, another quick 2 pickup off of 2 Ultimates from Burning Core. Spells AXZ Swamp. That's not the direction you want to go, buddy. Ozuka does get a pull in with the handshake, but in the bot lane, Rayfaki just solo killing Megumin under his own tower. That's definitely not what you want to see in the case of AXZ, is aggression on 2 fronts, trying to take out these last 2 tier 1 towers.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is why we don't lane assassins versus tanks. The tanks tend to just absolutely body them.
God, this Death Fire
Grasp just gets dived. That was pretty. But fun little thing. Talia able to do very well against a mobile champion, since Sangju ends up looking a little bit too far. They don't have vision of Dice for the longest time, and look at the Weaver's Wall. There's nothing to deny here, and you've got an easy knockback as well here. Bang, 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 CC chain comes through, Sangju goes down, and it's just a little bit too easy when you have that setup for Talia to play.
Yeah, and you see Rayfaki here. He sees Megumin, less than half health. He's like, watch this. I'm going to do what's called a pro gamer move and just delete him immediately.
My man got hit with the bonk.
Oh my goodness. And boom, speaking of deletion, Songchu getting jumped on by Flawless. Oh, it's marksman combat. It's like John Wick, where they're just shooting at each other, and Songchu comes out on top. Oh, bailout program is there. Does not proc in time enough for Songju to get the reset. And once again, Burning Core getting a fight in their favor. But here is Megumin over the side. Can he make anything happen? Can he make a difference? No, because Ray Farkey is here and shutting him out. And Yuhi will claim another credit. And Burning Core turning up the tempo. Oh, Weaver's Wall. Yellow Yoshi does hit Mega, but it does nothing as once again, Burning Core shut down and caged up AXIZ at every instance.
And Burning Core with great spacing there to avoid the Mega Gnar. It's just a case of Flawless not actually having any access to their Mythic because the Gale Force was on cooldown. So you're essentially fighting Mythic versus non-Mythic, and you're the same level. So you're actually kind of just weaker, which is why I think combine that with the heal coming through there from Songchu, Flawless just wasn't expecting the DPS and ends up jumping out of the Kindred ulti mid-auto from Songchu, so it just goes down. It is traded back at least, but it's still a 1-for-2 for now in the fight. But here comes Rayfaki, here comes Dice. The damage is coming in, the solo laners are online, and the CC chain is there, so there's 2 easy kills. Yellow Yoshi, not long for the world either, just falls after the play.
Yeah, just immediately falling as Burning Core. They're getting the items, they're getting the levels, they're getting exactly what they need. And all of them have control wards in their inventory, which is beautiful to see as a team. Vision OP. But AXIZ not completely out of this game yet. They do have some options available to them. Just a matter of taking these fights, as we do have a Hextech Drake coming in 15. Baron is live right now, so the choice has to be made by AXIZ. Are they going to try to contest the start of a Baron? Or are they going to try and be early to the Dragon? What's going to happen here, as we do see they are marching towards this mid lane and towards this Dragon, but there's 2 recalls on the side of AXIZ, so both Swamp and Megumin are back in base when this Hextech is alive. So it's looking like AXIZ just going to concede this one.
And Hextech obviously going to give you that little bit of ability haste, which means these combos for Dice are going to be up much more frequently. As I like the attempt, but we don't steal those today.
Nope.
I was going to say, most of these abilities in the basic rotation are very important here for Burning Core. They like this Talia combo being up more. They like having Hook for Loser being up more. They like Rayfaki being able to trade more effectively as well with those W procs being up more often to enable the Frostbite stacking as well. So it feels like a very good Dragon to secure, but also the Soul stacking is fantastic for them.
Yeah, this is if there was a Dragon for them to be stacking, this would be the one you would have to say. It's just at this point, recollect, like, what does AXIZ have to do 100% to be able to cinch out this W? What are their win conditions? How do they come back from this? Because it's looking like Burning Core has all the answers to every situation they put them in.
Their best opportunity is just looking for these picks with Megumin. We saw it in the last game how effective an Ahri can be at finding these assassins, but it's the Everfrost build this time instead, so less actual damage output, more of the setup, shall we say, and I'm not massive on that for that exact reason. I think that you are itemizing very defensively, which means the Megumin doesn't actually have that much damage. So you have to sort of change your angle of approach, which means you CC with this Ahri and you play instead off of Gnar. You play off of Renata ulti, catching onto multiple members. It's all about finding chokes and making sure that this double AD marksman composition ends up killing each other.
Right, yeah, it's really like one of the keys when I was looking at the post composition. I'm like, okay, they have a Renata, they can make something work if that ultimate does connect, and especially, you know, the later the game goes on, the more items that they have, but it has to connect under the right people, and that is very difficult for AXIZ to do, especially when you have Kindred jumping around with a Q every like 2 seconds. It's just so difficult to make that happen. All right, 25 minutes in, both teams at 2 dragons apiece. 4,000 gold lead for Burning Core as they are looking to either bait or start this Baron potentially. We do have Megumin and Swamp in the top side of the map, able to cover each other as Flawless. Yeah, he's gonna bully him out. Sharp, go a little bit wide for Megumin, but AXIZ kind of knows what's up, so they're trying to respond accordingly. The vision game from Burning Core, very, very strong, but can't easily be answered back by AXIZ's Songju, just trying to farm up as much as possible. It's sitting at 247 and climbing on a CS chart. That's the thing with mid to late game Jinx. He just farms so fast.
I've just had a really silly thought.
Oh.
You know how Blade of the Ruined King is Viego's weapon?
Yeah.
You know how Kindred is the personification of death?
Right.
Would that make her weapon Death's Dance?
Huh. I don't know. I feel like Death Dance is just literally tied to Aatrox in so many different ways.
That's true. That is
Like-
true.
Like,
That is true.
Yeah, if Last Whisper was still in this game, or maybe I guess Mortal Reminder could be Kindred's weapon. I mean
Maybe.
that does make sense, I suppose.
We're not going to see the Mortal Reminder sadly. Instead, we're going to see that rapid fire cannon. So
Yeah.
trying to abuse that extra range that she can get for each of these marks. I'm not massive on it. It does mean you are limiting your damage output quite considerably. And I don't think the utility Kindred is super insane. It's fine.
Right.
It's not great. But it does mean that you are going to be able to maybe look for these poke autos with Yuhi on this Aphelios as your primary carry instead. And maybe that means that we can play a bit more aggressively before this dragon. Maybe we can start to look for picks and poke ahead of time. And when you look at this red side comp, aside from the Jinx, it is very low range unless it can close the distance. So perhaps that's the logic there, as Flawless going to secure that crab beforehand. I believe that lasts for a decent amount of time. So I want to say a minute and a half, which means that you'll have it now for move speed during the fight, which is pretty big.
Yeah, perfect timing to grab the crab before this third Hex Tech Drake spawns. And once again, Burning Court is already in position, already ready to go. Look at that vision line, all those blue wards lining up this red team jungle. It's AXZ not able to get in and sweep anything. They have 4 sweepers on this team, and they are not able to utilize them to try to counter this vision. As once again, Burning Core sitting in this bush, daring and baiting AXZ to walk up in the slightest. Not gonna wait for the death brush this time. I'm gonna just chill around the corner. But yeah, it's the nightmare scenario, right? Literally, you have another Drake spawning. Literally, the enemy team is in your face trying to push you forward, as Flawless will be spotted out here, allowing Yelioshi to step up just a moment. But yeah, they're going to take that ward right back down.
Yeah, we're kind of seeing some of that rapid fire cannon come to fruition. They're able to poke out Yelioshi pretty considerably to about 2/3 there on the Gnar. But if you show your hand and try to play this dragon so fast, maybe they try and look for a cross map, but the dragon's already gone down. It was so fast. There's no way you go for this AXZ. You're about to throw the game. Don't do it. Don't throw it all away.
They're trying to go for it right now. The Weaver's Wall is there. Who does it trap inside? Yelioshi and Swamp are the answer. Dice is behind everybody. There goes the command Chrono Hall coming out. The health bars are dropping. Songshu jumping over the side. This fight is split. Flawless will get first blood onto Ozuka, and then the rest will follow. Surely this is going to be the throw that we were talking about. Surely is going to be the ace for Burning Core, as no one on their team is falling, and that is absolute decimation in the 5v5 full fight. A triple kill coming out for Dice. That's a dragon in their pocket. That's another Baron in their pocket as well. Burning Core absolutely rout AXZ.
Maybe we can call them AGR instead of AXZ, because it's all gone wrong there. Not exactly the fight that you want to see. It's just one of those where you're going for it. You're getting chunked by Baron. The other team is essentially full HP. You're against a Talia, so she's just going to wall you off anyway. And unfortunately, this is just a byproduct of creating a 3 versus 4 by your own choice. Yes, Megumin is on the flank, but the charm doesn't hit anyone because of the Flawless dancing forwards, and now Yuhi can free hit. Yes, there's maybe something being done by Gnar, maybe something by Renata, but you're losing both sides of the fight. Lamb's Respite is still available this whole time, so even after you leave stasis, nothing can happen. So it's just the turnaround. They won the top side thanks to Talia and Rayfaki playing it so well, and they won the bottom side because of the range difference.
Yeah, and just carrying it all the way through. Now it's just such a crazy scenario for AXZ to even try to be able to overcome this. And now it's a 10k gold lead for Burning Core. 3 dragons, 1 Baron, all the firepower in the world, as they can just march down and take these towers, you'd have to say, with no problem. You know, the increased range from the rapid fire cannons on Flawless, you know, the siege ability from siege ability and wave clear from Dice and Yuhi. It's just, they're able to muscle in, and they can start fights whenever they want, whether they be off of Dice getting a catch or loser getting a catch, as the Weaver's Wall come out to shut off any access to this bot lane tower. So cheeky, and it works so well as they're going to march on forward. Keep pushing in. They get a catch on to Megumin, who has to dash away. Not going to dash away far enough, as Rayfaki just taking up so much. The Sejuani is so tanky. There's so much damage as well, and all of it is pouring out of every single member of Burning Core as they're looking to stamp the final seal on this game number 4 of the day. We have Yuhi flashing and Gale forcing forward. We have the entire team, all 5 men strong, baroned up minions at their back, marching on the door of AXZ, taking down Nexus Tower number 1, taking down Nexus Tower number 2. Gonna clean up a few more kills, pad that KDA a bit, player, as they will take down this Nexus and get themselves a W.
It wasn't clean, but they end up getting themselves the win. They're able to secure themselves a fantastic victory here and get themselves ahead of that pack. So a big win there for the side of Burning Core, and crucially, 100% win rate for Kindred this season. Let's go.
100% win rate. It still works. Flawless. Basically playing a flawless game, getting him on a carry, getting him on his carry of choice to make something happen. Maybe this might perk up some eyes at the Kindred pick. We might have to see, but we'll talk about that more in a second.
No, we're talking about it right now.
Oh, we're talking about it right now. We're doing it right now.
Convened. We're here. We're ready. We're ready to go. And we've brought the draft back up on screen. Obviously, Kindred coming through for the first time. Maybe it's because Recollect keeps talking about it. Someone had to play it. Maybe it's even because, Nymeria and Initialize. If you watch the LEC, they did also do a bit on Kindred. So if you haven't seen that, go check that one out. That was a pretty cool intro for their first cast. But getting into this game, Burning Core versus AXZ, we had a lot of questions about Burning Core. Will they be able to stay afloat? Are they going to be looking strong? I think they answered that pretty succinctly. And to be honest, their draft was pretty interesting. Recollect, do you want to talk any more about this Kindred?
I've discussed the Kindred in detail, but it's one of those where it makes a lot of sense in the context of protecting your backline. I actually think it wasn't the main player in this one. I definitely think that Dice and Latalia did a really good job and really sort of carried the game on this one. But it's one of those where I think matchup-wise it's very strong. I think situationally it made sense because they were winning the top side, they were winning the mid lane relatively well, they were winning the bot side. So it was drafted around correctly, I think, in the most part from Burning Core. Wasn't mechanically played the fights perfectly as a team. I think that they split up a little bit too much in some of those instances. But it worked out, and I'm happy with that at the very least.
Yeah, and my question on the other side of the draft is Xin Zhao from AXZ. What are we feeling about that Beautiful Crow? Are we liking it?
Honestly, I liked it at points, but it's just the fact that they weren't able to use it to counter a lot of the early game from Flawless. We saw it get bullied very much, but that's literally the Flawless Ray Farkey duo. It was a little bit sad to see. I did see some pretty bright spots for Sanju trying to go in for these, flash ults, being able to counter the Kindred ults as well. But it just wasn't really the ideal pick of choice, I would say, for this lineup for AXZ.
Yeah, indeed. It definitely was a little bit of a difficult one for them indeed. But let's get into some of the clips of the game. So far, we have two. The first one is this big team fight that was kicked off by the Kindred jumping over on to Sangchu there. And it looked pretty good for Floss at this moment in time. But you know what? Sangchu played this one pretty well.
Yeah. Just the fancy footwork coming out, like I said, was just really dope to see. Did not manage to proc the bailout in time, unfortunately, but it's just this was at that point in the game where Burning Core members had their items available and they were able to just completely burst out anyone they saw in their sights, and just the sheer numbers and the ability of Ray Farkey plus Dice using those Talia and Sejuani abilities in conjunction with each other, just making whatever they want happen. They made it happen.
Yeah. Indeed. And it felt like Burning Core were really on the same page in a lot of these team fights. And we can go to our second clip, actually, that is around the Baron fight that pretty much ended out the game. I feel like Burning Core actually looked pretty strong in a 5v5 setting.
Yeah, and I think it's more of the fact that this wasn't a proper 5v5 here for AXZ. They split up into this mini 3v3 where it's Carries and Nautilus winning on one side. And unfortunately, with both these solo laners so strong, Sanctuary and Ozuka are never going to be able to fight well enough against Dyson and Ray Farkey. So they're able to stall it out pretty convincingly. And unfortunately, so many cooldowns were used in the first half of this fight that Burning Core had nothing to worry about because AXZ had nothing left to fight back with, and they still had a lot in reserve, including that Lamster Spike, including a couple of the CDs. So it was just a little bit too easy for them.
Yeah, and I think also, indeed, they are ahead in this fight. I think that AXZ, you know what, in this game actually played relatively well. I just think that Burning Core played better. So I think all in all, a pretty good game for the LJL. Going into looking into the future for these teams, are you you kind of feeling like these teams are on page to what we would have expected from the start of the split, or actually have your expectations changed throughout the days?
That's a good question. Honestly, Burning Core do look like that secure middle of the pack team, occupying that like fourth, maybe third, not third, fourth, fifth place space, I would say. Just the way they have been playing, and like on their best day, they can contest for that top half, I would say, but it's just so shaky sometimes, and AXZ seem to be falling a bit, I would say.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. If we do look at the standings, now we have two teams at the top 11 and one for both DFM and Sengoku. Third place is solidly Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks. They are 8 and 4. Burning Core and Russell Justice both joining at the 4th position. They are now 5 and 7 each. AXIZ and CGA are 4 and 8, sitting at 6th, and then V3 way at the bottom, 0 and 12. But that will all be updated for the next stream. I'm going to quickly run through the games just in case any of you guys at home didn't manage to catch these starts. So DFM versus the Hawks was the first game of the day. A pretty strong showing there from DFM. They were able to really just clean up the match, and still Hawks weren't really able to get too much into the game. DFM just showing their absolute dominance. Game number 2, we had Sengoku versus V3, which all would have expected to go how it did. Sengoku looking very strong once again. V3 not finding a fated win. Game number 3 now, Russell Justice versus CGA. Pretty close match, to be fair, in some aspects, but Russell Justice actually coming out on top, showing they were just a little bit better than CGA, who didn't have the greatest early game, but almost tried to claw it back at the later stages, but weren't able to. And then the final game of the day, Burning Core versus AXIZ. Burning Core looking pretty strong as a team fight team, built leads early on and were able to pick up a quick win. So, with that being said, that is the day of LJL. And before we go, we got a little game on the show. It's time for Mess or Impress. Let's get into it. Recollect, let me know, who is your mess for today?
The mess for today. That's a tough one. I don't know. I guess I wanted to say, I don't want to say the mid support duo. That's not nice, is it? That's not nice. It's gotta be though, doesn't it? Realistically, it's like the Cocoon and Primo duo. It was real rough. Like it was real rough. I'm sorry. I know that they're new into the league and I shouldn't be bullying them, but there was just some stuff there where it was the biggest issue was just positioning issues that plagued. It was like we were frontlining with Renata, for example, which is just not something you want to do. It wasn't ideal, should we say.
And then for you, Beautiful Crow, who is your mess for today?
I mean, honestly, it's basically the same. Feel bad for the Academy boys coming in. Maybe it was the jitters. Maybe, I don't know, it might have been something else, but Cocoon did not look good. Was messing up engages on his ear multiple times, getting caught out. It was just not the best time for them. And so, yeah, I'd have to agree with Cocoon and Primo.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I will actually say it's been a pretty good day for the LJL. I will say that the mess for today is actually really difficult to handle, because I actually think everyone played pretty good. To be honest, I think all the games were relatively competitive where they should have been. I think I'm potentially going to give it to the side of the Hawks on a very loose term of they picked a comp, but they didn't really play to their comp, which I felt was a little bit strange from them. But either way, I still think they did a pretty good game, and I think that everyone in the LJL today has actually performed pretty well. On to the lighter side, the easier side normally to pick, the impress for today. Recollect, who was your impress?
Burning Core's coach, because they picked Kindred. Let's go! Let's go! We take those.
The big brain Kindred play.
We take those. We got Kindred and Talia on a single draft. That's crazy. I'm happy that I got either of these two today. So I'll take both and be happy.
Fair play. For you, Useful, who is your impress?
Honestly, I would have to say, I think it was just very impressive of the entirety of Rascal Jester with how clean they played today in that game. Like they're just like, yeah, this is easy. We got this, no problem. Oh man, It just went very smooth for them overall for today's game, I would say. So Rascal Jester is my impress for the day.
Yeah, fair play. And for me personally, I actually am going to give it to DFM, which sounds like, oh, it's a simple one to give to, but I actually think DFM really, really showed up today. You know, they played against the Hawks, who are the third best team. They have been putting up numbers as well. I think the Hawks have only lost to Sengoku or DFM, so they aren't an easy team to beat. And I will have to fact check that. They did actually lose to Russell Justice on day one, I do remember. But it's a sentiment where the Hawks have been a very strong team, and DFM gave them no options. They gave them a very low chance in the early game. They built a lead without even necessarily having to get kills, and then from 15 minutes, they basically closed the game out in a fell swoop once they got their first blood at 17 minutes. So for me, DFM really, really looking strong, really impressed me today. But that is going to be it from us today at the LJL. It has been another good day. Day 12 has been completed. Day 13 will be on Friday. You'll get to see more of that action at 10 a.m. BST. Obviously, you can work out the calculations forever you live on that timing. But with that being said, that is all from us. Shout out to our producer, Chris Edgeworth. Without him, without the graphics, without everything, there would be no stream. And also, it makes it so exciting and enjoyable. So thank you. Shout out to all the casters that came through as well. Beautiful. Recollect, you did a massive job. Middlecourt and Melvin as well earlier in the morning. But with that being said, we are going to end it here. Come back on Friday to see more action.